in the world by all metrics.
Yes.
A lot of people are calling me and saying, wow, you guys are number one.
Yep.
How'd you get there?
I mean, the same way Dogecoin gets there.
Right.
To the top. We have an action-packed episode. We have an interview this episode toward the end with Spencer Pasinger. And he is, if you're like me, a big fan of the All-American, he is the person the show is based off of.
Crazy.
He was a professional athlete. He went to Beverly Hills High School, and he comes and talks to us about his story and how you could be in the entertainment industry, which is quite interesting because, you know, his background is in sports, and now he's a big Hollywood guy.
Big Hollywood.
Big
I'll tell you
Hollywood.
after this, I got the blueprint of how to get my own TV show.
Okay, pipe down. Yeah, we really want to see a TV show about a guy from
Wisconsin.
wherever the fuck you're from.
Make it in Hollywood.
Make it in Hollywood.
Trading Dogecoin.
I mean, it could be the male version of Emily in Paris.
Pete in Los Angeles.
Matthew in WeHo.
That could be good.
Sounds like an award-winning show.
Yeah. And then we get into the episode talking about a fellow Harvard classmate of mine, continue to thrive, now CEO of one of the largest companies in the world.
Tech titans, you Harvard guys.
We really are. And then we get into other topics such as Pete, you're supposed to help me out here.
Oh, you didn't prep me on this. You think I pay attention here?
Hold on. I got it. Okay. Then we get into other topics such as the HubSpot acquiring the hustle.
Yes.
And then Anand has figured out Nordstrom's future.
Yep.
The fight of the century that you didn't know you wanted is now coming. And everyone's pissed off at Emily in Paris. Emily's just living her best life.
Yeah.
Leave her the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Pete has like 6 spinoffs for her.
Yes. And there's a lot of jealousy around her.
Yes. Imagine if she picks up a friend. Emily and Ashley go to
Emily and Ashley. Oh, this is big.
And then finally, if you ran the GRC 75-mile challenge, we finally have a winner.
Wow.
Patrick Nonato out of Pasadena, California. This man ran 98.5 miles. 0.5? Why didn't you run 700? You could have just...
Yeah. He at least could have crawled the last
698.93 miles.
Yep.
I mean, at that point, Patrick,
1.7 miles. Come on.
just get over the hump.
And also just fake the last one even have to.
lie.
What? Why would you not lie and just be like, flat 700?
This guy ran 700, I'm not going to lie.
Nope.
He ran 698 miles.
Not that
It's a damn
impressive.
shame.
And he ran it around the Rose Bowl, which is nuts. It's just nuts that this guy man ran it around the Rose Bowl. Congratulations. You are the winner of the challenge. I'm a little disappointed, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Why you just didn't cross 700.
Maybe next time, cross that 700.
Yeah, don't be so lazy. All right, let's get into it.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, group chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
All right, before we really get into today's episode, I wanted to make a shout out to a fellow classmate of mine, the new CEO of Amazon, Andy Jassy.
He went to Grand Hills High School?
He went to Harvard.
Okay.
I think.
You lost me. You had me.
Yeah.
That was
I mean,
good.
it just continues to show we're everywhere.
Yes.
I don't even know our mascot. What is it?
Well, who the fuck cares?
The
You don't even have good
Crimson
sports.
Tide? What is it?
I'll look it up.
It's Crimson. I don't know if it's. We don't even know our mascot.
Do you know your theme song? Marching band song?
We played it.
We played it. It's
Yeah.
just,
Just another dumb song.
It's The Pilgrim.
The Pilgrim?
Oh my God. You guys are a
Jesus.
bunch of losers.
No one of you guys
We're running
suck in
Amazon
sports.
now.
Yeah.
Okay?
You guys are
You
on
know, the
pedophilia
last
rings
2
too.
weeks we've had, our school has had Amanda Gorman
Yep.
and Andy Jassy.
You know what? That's amazing.
Pretty good.
So what else do we need to know about your classmate?
I mean,
In your time at Harvard, you must have just been running into him in the cafeteria.
we actually used to run together and then we did crew. But, it's too cold out there to be doing crew in the middle of the winter.
Give us some tidbits. What should we know about
Andy?
a fellow Harvard man?
He's fast. He's not as fast. He's not as fast as the traitor, Keith Gill. deep fucking value.
Yes.
Not that fast,
No.
but, it's nice to see, where I come from, people are still out there doing well.
I'm skeptical about your Harvard man.
Why?
Don't think he's even close.
Did you see how much AWS shit in cash?
Yeah,
last
no, I
year?
saw that.
$14.5 billion.
There's a lot of money.
But it's vision, and it's very different. AWS came from Bezos. Don't give your classmate credit for this.
Why not?
Bezos made the decision to invest in.
It sounds like a Harvard move. This guy's out here trying to ship everyone 1-2 day clothes. And the Harvard man came in and said, you know what? Why don't we make some money?
I did a lot of reading on a lot of like the tech people that I follow, like Ben Thompson, Strategy.
What did he say?
He just outlined Bezos' career, and he's a 1 in a billion type entrepreneur and founder.
Yeah.
The way he talked about back in the 90s, Bezos saw internet growing so fast. So he saw like, okay, there's this opportunity. What can I serve here first? Mm-hmm. And the idea was books. Why books? Because if you go to Barnes & Noble, they may have 10,000 books. I don't know what the number is, but if you go to Amazon, you can have 3 million books.
Yeah.
And just that vision so early on that he knew e-commerce was going to be important. And where do you start? You start with solving a pain point immediately back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And then obviously everything else he did with investing in fulfillment centers and distribution.
I think that's more of a visionary than, because there were a lot of people early internet realizing the potential of selling product. The way how quickly he moved, because
No, but I think starting with books is the genius that doesn't get talked about enough, because he gave you an offering that's actually not possible to find.
Yeah, because I would have been like, books. Who reads books?
Yeah,
we have
forget
one
you,
customer,
but, like,
drama.
probably was.
Who am I selling books to? I know one white guy that reads. It's drama.
But I think that's the underrated genius of the way he attacked e-commerce, was starting with that specific category, whereas like Webvan and these grocery guys got all crushed.
Yeah.
Even whatever. What was the dog food company back in the 90s? Was it whatever it was?
I
And then
remember.
Chewy obviously figured it out. And
Pets.com.
yeah. So I think that vision is so hard to replace.
I'll tell you the bigger vision, in my opinion, as an Amazon seller and very deeply rooted in understanding that business. So there's the idea of like third-party sellers, to me, was revolutionary because they could have easily just kept being the everything store with first their products and their curation and them buying wholesale and retailing the goods, right? And capturing that margin. But the idea of like that marketplace vision that they had, and really it was only eBay that was really the only marketplace that was at scale in that era. That opening to like third parties, to me, was obviously revolutionary. The launching of the actual Prime service, which making it a membership, that lock-in value, we know we have a subscription business. Lock-in value is worth so much. And then you take this concept. The one thing that Jeff Bezos always said that has resonated with me, he's like, customers always want things quicker and cheaper.
No, yeah, it's called the discontent of the customer.
Yeah.
Is what Bezos would always talk about it. That the moment you give them 2-day shipping, they're going to want 24-hour shipping. Then they're going to want
Same day.
10-hour shipping. Then they're going to be like, I need it right now.
Yeah. And I think he understood that so early on. Because think about it. If now that we think about Prime and 2-day shipping, it's like, duh, of course everyone wants it fast. But he kind of bet the whole farm on it because that shit was losing money for a decade, right? And if it wasn't for Andy and what he was doing over at AWS, fellow Harvard guy who was shitting cash over there, we couldn't have financed 2-day shipping for the entire country to go invest in the fulfillment centers, invest in all the logistics and what they've done on that side. And that to me is their biggest moat. I agree. I don't think AWS is the most replaceable part of their business.
Yeah,
right?
you have Google going after you. You have Microsoft going after you.
And it's going to be a price war at some point.
Yep.
And granted, I'm sure they have some sort of technology competitive advantage, but I just think the retail network is I mean, what they've done on distribution, it's nearly impossible. Walmart is the only company that has anything close to potentially competing on that level.
Yeah, so I think a few things. I think 50% of Amazon e-commerce is from third-party sellers.
Yeah.
So understanding that more variety, which he understood in the late 90s, 3 million books versus whatever you can find at a single bookstore.
Yeah.
That matters. So enabling and empowering third-party sellers expands the product offering, keeps the customer happy. They can price discover and find the cheapest. You can find the cheapest thing for pretty much any product category on Amazon.
I would say you can't anymore.
You can't.
No. The convenience of Prime has allowed them to raise prices. Has allowed third-party people to raise
sellers because people want their goods immediately. So
because think about it, what's the biggest friction on going onto a new site? Will they ship me? How long will it take? What's the cost of shipping? All these things. Amazon has removed all that friction for a brand and a customer, right? For a brand, it's a great way to launch your product because you know the customer trust that Amazon Prime allows you free returns and exchanges. You'll get this 2-day shipping. You know, you have a customer service issue, it will be handled. So for a brand, it's a great platform to sell their product on. And from a customer standpoint, I mean, it's safe.
So they
have pricing power.
They clearly have the competitive advantage with the logistics and distribution centers around the country and being able to get the goods as fast as possible. Now with Whole Foods getting groceries and whatever products you need. Here's where, if you just zoom out, Tim.
Okay.
10 years. So Steve Jobs left Apple. Tim Cook managed this global brand and is able to operate it for cash because Apple just matters.
Yeah.
Having an iPhone matters. Having a iPad matters and whatnot. There's been very little innovation in
all
Apple's
matters.
offerings. Yes, but all Apple matters. And the alternatives are pretty shitty.
Yeah.
It's like no one wants a Samsung phone.
No.
And Amazon is effectively in a commodity business, delivering goods to you as quickly as possible. Now that you've removed the visionary, who is Jeff Bezos, your Harvard fellow, maybe a brilliant man, and probably scored well in your tests that you guys all had to take over there.
Yeah, obviously, we all did very well. That's why we're at Harvard.
Yeah. But if you don't have the vision, that commodity advantage you have right now will wean off over time. I'm not saying Amazon's in trouble in 2 years, 3 years, but 10, 15 years, if the Harvard man doesn't really have vision, you're opening the door for another competitor. And like Jeff Bezos is a once-in-a-lifetime entrepreneur, similar to Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and all these guys. But like, I don't know.
So I'll tell you, he's not a new guy in the company.
Yeah.
He joined in the 90s when there were $32 million of revenue. So he's been along for the ride the entire time.
I mean, so is Steve Ballmer. So is Tim Cook.
But that was his roomie. Steve Ballmer was the roomie.
Steve Ballmer was dancing a storm in the early 90s with
Yes,
Bill Gates.
but that was his roommate, right? Like, of course, I'm going to throw on my homie. But Tim Cook was not Steve Jobs' roommate. It's a very big difference. You know, it's not like...
I think Tim Cook is an incredible operator, but they haven't innovated. They're just resting on the laurels that Steve Jobs is so genius that he created a 50-year moat.
Yeah. So
Has Amazon created a
that,
50-year moat? I don't know. I don't know that. I don't think you can answer that question yet. And Apple's proved
you don't think the
it.
distribution system is a 10-year moat at least?
No, I think it's 5 to 10 years for sure.
I mean,
right?
because who else has it? Walmart?
Walmart has a distribution moat, but then when you talk about Instagram shopping, how even the biggest Amazon seller is saying the number 2 guy is going to be Instagram shopping. So I think this opens the door, which is great for consumers, that there are going to be new e-commerce platforms built. Yeah. Because the genius is gone. Yeah. Now you're just competing with the Harvard guy. How hard is that?
Yeah. I don't know. We win a lot. It's going to be exciting to see. I'm curious to see what his big first move is, big first acquisition, all those types of things. The other interesting thing is they broke down how much stock he owns. Mm-hmm. I think he owns like $300 and something million, and I think he's cashed out about like $127 million or something over the last couple of years. He's the second largest employee shareholder and he doesn't even have $500 million of stock. That's
He's the
insane.
what number shareholder?
Second.
Wow.
So Jeff was not handing out stock
No, that's really interesting because
Jeff's worth like 150 billion, 200,
Hey,
300.
I mean, Amazon's mantra is be frugal.
He was frugal with that stock.
Because even
The fact that guy's not a billionaire? He's been there since the 90s?
That's crazy because we just saw Ryan Graves, who wasn't a co-founder of Uber,
An
just
employee.
invest $50 million in a Metro Mile.
50 mil. That means he's a billionaire.
Yeah,
Because
he's definitely a billionaire.
Yeah,
he
you're
was
not
on the cap table when the company went public.
Yeah, so I mean, I think modern technology companies are more generous with equity.
Yep.
And then, my man Andy didn't negotiate a good deal.
Bezos is smart. So,
I mean, the fact that this guy only has 300 something million of stock and he's a CEO of a $2 trillion company?
in tech, I know this is going to sound really obnoxious. In the tech world, $100 million is poor if you're the CEO of Amazon.
I agree. They should give him $1 billion just to, okay, a CEO is a billionaire.
Like, how can you show up to Davos with all the Microsoft, Sundar, and Satya?
Yeah.
Who let the peasant in?
Yeah. The guy can't even buy a team. God forbid he likes sports.
Luckily, Amazon pays for those PJs because you're not flying PJ. With
He has a security detail. He's always had apparently that.
So Bezos thought it was important enough to give him a security detail, but not important enough to
Make him a billionaire. He's like, I got to protect this guy, but I got to pay him.
Yeah.
It's super interesting. And another big news, obviously not in the dollar range that we were just talking, but The Hustle, which is probably a newsletter a lot of our listeners are members of, just got bought by HubSpot for a reported $27 million. So this is really interesting because The Hustle is definitely like your millennial entrepreneur kind of headquarters. They claim to have 1.5 million email subscribers. I think they do a really good job of storytelling through their newsletters. They find like very interesting stories of entrepreneurship and highlight it. The founder is Sam Parr, who's great on Twitter and great on social media, just like telling stories. And it happened fairly quickly, right? The business isn't that old. HubSpot is like an all-in-one marketing platform. So it's an interesting purchase for them because this is what I've learned. And I learned this years ago when we started this podcast is customer acquisition for any business is too expensive today, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a consumer business, a B2B business, acquiring a customer through the internet is outrageous. So why is that? Facebook prices are all-time high. Search, all-time high. Everything is all-time high. And you want to do influencers, you got to pay through the nose. And what these companies are quickly realizing is why not buy a content platform that already has our audience and work on converting them that way? Because $27 million for The Hustle, for HubSpot, which I don't know how big of a business it is, it's probably a very small check for the opportunity of what HubSpot is creating. And similar to what Business Insider did with Morning Brew. Morning Brew was a great example of someone who should have bought them, should have been someone looking to acquire that demographic more so than just a media publication. But the best example is definitely Penn.
Yep.
Penn Gaming acquiring their stake in Barstool Sports, which is now looking like the best deal ever because Barstool is this media powerhouse. Penn is a gaming company, meaning casinos, racetracks. And their next generation of customers are going to come through Barstool and they can rebrand existing properties, slap the Barstool logo on it, and you're off to the races. So their $160 million infusion of cash into Barstool is looking very, very cheap. My guess is this is going to look very, very cheap in a few years for HubSpot.
Yeah, so The Hustle had only raised $1 million. So this is a great outcome for whoever the shareholders were and obviously the founder. The Barstool comparison is really important because I think people, like niche media is so important. And if you can capture a niche, what Barstool did was the Barstool Bros, the frat guys and Wall Street guys that wanted to just escape and
enjoy.
act like a frat boy.
Yeah.
And the hustle is the young entrepreneur that's just, that's probably the people that listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
And if you can just corner a niche,
Yeah.
it's almost more important than trying to go wide net. I want to be something for everyone.
Yeah. It's definitely more important. And the thing is
because you also have buy-in when you're that niche product.
Yeah.
Because if you're a Barstool bro, Barstool is the most important thing.
yeah.
You don't care about anything else. Like you're going to Portnoy for his stock tips, and then you're going to Big Cat for his NFL picks.
Yeah.
And then you're
buying merch from them.
And then you're going
to
for
party.
the pizza reviews.
Yeah.
You're like, where should I eat pizza if I'm going to Detroit?
Yeah, your whole life is revolved around them.
Yeah, and it's not only the male demographic; they've now broken into the female demographic.
Yeah.
Caller Daddy. There's a multitude of other podcasts as
But
well.
that stickiness with the customer only happens when
You're hyper focused.
you were hyper focused. Exactly.
And I think it's going to continue to be important for more niche platforms to be built. And that's where I think, if you listen to this podcast and you're looking for, I'm a content creator, where's my opportunity? It's really around focus around a small group of people to start. And people are going to quickly realize, like, if you're a platform, if you have a following around music and you're a guitar player, there's a real reason why Guitar Center should buy you. I know they went bankrupt, but like, whoever the equivalent is of a retailer that say, you know what, that's our customer, they're there. Why don't we just buy this site or buy this Instagram account or buy this? Because lead gen for any business is so expensive right now that buying these content platforms, if you integrate them correctly, can be the best. It could be a home run.
Again, I think something important that I heard on a podcast the other day was that let your customer dictate what your offering should be. Don't just try to expand and do more offerings because you just want to grow.
Yeah.
So if your customer is telling you, Amazon's a perfect example. He started with books, super hyper focused, but he clearly saw my customer wants more of this similar service.
Yeah.
So then he started slowly expanding to different product categories, but he let the customer dictate how to build the business rather than you as the founder and CEO saying, I'm already selling them X, I'm sure they're going to want Y.
Yeah.
And that's not a better version of building a business. And that's why I think focusing on niche early can lead to some great outcomes.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's a great example. I mean, and we saw the Morning Brew and we saw the Hustle. In the women's space, they're way stickier platforms too.
Way stickier.
Way sticky. I mean, like people, I'm shocked at some of these women's newsletters and platforms that have not been, the problem is men are running all these companies, but the stickiness on the women's side and the loyalty is way fucking bigger and way bigger of an opportunity. And I guarantee you they generate way more revenue. Because the reality is the Morning Brew crowd, I don't know if they're buying anything. Whereas like, I'm sure some of these women-focused newsletters that I've seen, they are converting.
I mean, again, another very niche example, but with Caller Daddy, their merch alone pays for a large majority of those workers' employees. They're like, without that podcast and that merch, which is bought by women, they would not be able to employ the amount of people that they do.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Like,
And that's why I think
buy.
we obviously, we end up talking more about things like the Hustle and Morning Brew, but I actually think the opportunity, the women's side is way bigger.
Right.
And we know it's like the consumption level is no comparison. Like HubSpot bought the Hustle, right? If they were able to sell clothes, a clothing company would have bought them, but they can't. Yeah. So, HubSpot is the next logical purchaser of this. I'm curious to see how they integrate it. But congrats, $27 million. It's
great
good
outcome.
It's good money.
Good chunk of change.
Good chunk of change, yes.
Catching up to the CEO of Amazon.
Low and slow, baby. Low
You
and
flip
slow.
one more company, you're going to be researched than Andy Jassy. Poor guy.
Hopefully he doesn't hear this. He's going to be like, fuck, he's right. And broke.
The next news is retail. Everyone's saying retail is going to come back big in 2021. Apparently not. Nordstrom is reporting that in 2021, they're expecting 20+% growth. Wall Street didn't think that was big enough, and the stock tumbled. Here's my thoughts. Nordstrom itself, the full price department store, doesn't have a reason to exist as far as I'm concerned. Nordstrom is for boomers, and I guarantee you they can't sell most of the products in that Nordstrom store at full price. And we know that because Nordstrom Rack is the more important part of their business now. And their e-commerce, I think they said that it's going to grow 50%. It grew 50% last year, which is big, but it's not like crazy. It didn't grow 500%. Once Nordstrom has to now be fully focused on digital, okay, cool. Now you're competing with Revolve. And they're just not going to win that game. Or ASOS or Stitch Fix or whomever, their demographic.
Boohoo.
But yeah, Boohoo's more fast fashion. Okay. But I'm just saying in that price point, if you're a young woman, you're not taking leads from Nordstrom.
No. Nordstrom has to be the last place you would go if you're a
25-year-old woman with money. I think if you're older, you still are walking to that store.
You want those shoes. They open with shoes. Almost every Nordstrom.
So I would say the two categories where Nordstrom continues to look like they win in is women's footwear and beauty. I don't think, from the apparel side of things, Nordstrom is known as an important place to go. I think their footwear selection is insane, especially from a women's perspective. But men's Nordstrom is whatever, irrelevant.
Completely irrelevant. And if you go to the Nordstrom at the Grove, pre-COVID, the bottom floor is slammed, which is where shoes and beauty are. And you go upstairs, it's empty.
It's empty. So they are talking about
and a terrible cafe. Nordstrom, don't have a cafe if you're going to put out shitty food.
Yeah, why not just get a good chef?
They have a decent bar selection, but the food is,
Well, I mean, how hard is that?
Yeah, that's not hard, but learn to make a sandwich.
Well, maybe they should partner with Chick-fil-A. Just put Chick-fil-A's in Nordstrom's. But I think this is going to continue to be a challenging business. I think Nordstrom Rack will continue to thrive. It's really interesting that people will no problem going to Nordstrom Rack and buying off-price clothes. And the digital version of off-price doesn't really exist. I guess because everyone's on sale always anyways. But, Farfetch is probably a competitor of Nordstrom's in that space, and Farfetch selection is insane.
So it's funny to me that a company like Nordstrom, which is, sure, the stock went down a little, but overall the business is fine. They have, 90 to 100 stores, I believe?
Yeah.
And the writing's on the wall. Of their 90 to 100 stores, you probably have 20 that are just performing fantastic.
Yeah.
Why not? Your stock's doing relatively fine.
Yeah.
Do a secondary offering. Do a bond offering. Use that capital. Go to your landlords in the 30 to 40, which I'm sure are underperforming stores, and just go to the landlord and say, "Hey, I want to prepay and buy out my 20-year lease. Here's cash up front." Right now, when we know every landlord in the country, I'm sure is not getting paid their full rent.
Yeah.
Just get ahead of it. You can go. Nordstrom has access to the capital markets.
Yeah.
Why not just do that now?
And just be done.
Be done. Shut those 30 to 40 stores.
Be a smaller business.
Focus on digital. And I bet you long term that's a winning strategy than keeping all 100 stores, not negotiating with landlords. You can negotiate with landlords now when you actually have access to capital. If they keep waiting in 10 years, they're just going to file for bankruptcy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Should I be the CEO of Nordstrom?
Sure. Did you go to Harvard?
Wall says different.
Yeah, Peter Nordstrom. I don't know.
I mean, isn't that obvious to you? Knowing what has happened to every other,
we don't know what they're, but they might be negotiating with.
No, but you have to be dramatic.
Yeah, just cut them
30,
off.
40 stores.
Yeah. You probably can close 75% of the stores. They're
75%, you think?
They're full price stores, 75% should go.
So there you go. We know this. We're in this business for 20 years.
Yeah, do you need the Nordstrom in
the Northridge Mall?
Is there one there?
I don't know.
There's not. Okay. But I'm just saying, in LA, how many Nordstroms do you need? South Bay, do you need a Nordstrom there? No.
Yeah, you probably need the Grove and you need the one in Santa Monica.
Yeah. Or you need Woodland Hills. You got your
Sure, 3.
Yeah.
But I feel it's pretty. I think it's solvable if you had a forward-thinking CEO.
Well,
and a
because then you have to
forward-thinking board.
believe that digital is actually real. And some of these people actually think that there's a world where physical retail at scale should still exist.
Because if you went to Simon Properties or whoever their biggest landlord is and offered them, if you have 20 if they have 20 more years on whatever leases they have, if you say, I'll pay you for 10 years of that right now, get me out of this lease. Who's going to say no?
Yeah. 10 years is a lot.
5 years, but they're a publicly traded company with free capital.
Yeah. I get it. I'm not saying it's a bad strategy. I just think they got to close a lot of stores.
Okay, close half.
Yeah. I'd say 75%.
Okay, close 75%. I just saved Nordstrom. Instead, you're going to be 50, and we were talking about the bankruptcy of Nordstrom.
We'll just come back to this date and time and be like, we told you so.
Nordies. All right, we'll see. I mean, what's more likely to happen? Nordstrom thriving or this next fight? This is the fight that we've all wanted and we didn't know. Lamar Odom versus Aaron Carter. Holy shit.
I mean, what the fuck's going on?
I love it.
So
This is the type of
it's just the
sports I
buffoonery
want.
we want.
What?
So we've seen both of these people in person. Lamar
Yes.
Odom's 7 feet.
Yeah.
Aaron Carter's like my height.
He's saying 6'1".
Okay, maybe he's a little taller.
Yeah.
He's been in our office. I don't
Yeah,
think he's
yeah, yeah.
6'1".
Doesn't matter what height he is at this point.
Yeah. I like it.
I mean, how can you even punch a guy?
Are you okay, let me ask you a question. It's on Saturday night. Are you watching it? If it was on
I'm not. I know everyone else is.
Yes, everyone's watching.
Yes.
It. This is fucking amazing.
I'm watching the Twitter clip after someone gets knocked out. I'll tell
Yeah.
you that. Like I want the 30-second give me the highlights of the 3-round fight that they're
Yeah.
gonna do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm totally sold on this. I can't wait to watch it.
And do we have a date? Or it's just being announced that they're talking about
Yeah, I
it?
think they're just announcing.
I mean, what an unlikely matchup.
Yeah.
But how did they figure this out? Do we have any background into that? Like how they paired these two, how it came together?
I don't know. I'm sure all the details will come out,
Sure.
but I'm excited for this. I mean, I just think this is the type of stuff that I want to see in sports. I would love to go see them go bowling after too. I'd watch that too. I'll watch anything.
I feel like TMZ has their hands in this because 2 weeks ago, I think, they posted a video on TMZ. Look at Lamar Odom crushing boxing. And he's in jeans, not crushing boxing. And it became like kind of a joke.
Yeah.
And then 2
So
weeks
maybe
later,
Aaron Carter's been like working out, getting ripped, and goes, "I can beat this guy's ass."
No, my point is TMZ made a Lamar Odom
they tease it.
boxing thing,
Yeah, yeah.
teased it,
Yeah.
and then 2 weeks later they announced it.
Sure, or whoever's promoting the fight teased the clip of Lamar, and
Right.
you know, these things are all rigged anyways.
Yeah. Who's gonna win, Pete?
I'm going to give it to my boy Lamar.
I'm going with Aaron Carter. Just stamina.
The reach is, I mean,
I just don't think Aaron Carter's going to get a hit, but I think Lamar gets tired.
I
just
believe
takes
Lamar
himself
Odom
out.
will definitely get tired, but how do you even get to a guy that is
He's not
a
going to
foot
land
taller?
a hit, but eventually Lamar will get tired, then Aaron will just jump up and
I mean, it's literally
Yeah,
David versus
he
Goliath.
actually has to jump.
Yes.
To punch him.
There's
Or
no
punch
way
him
you
in the
can reach him.
stomach. Punch him in the stomach. You can get body blows.
Even if Aaron Carter happened to be somehow and we didn't notice 6'3", you still cannot punch a 7-foot man in the face without having to like at least lunge or jump high.
Man, this is sad. Lamar Odom was a
You know how
very
far
talented
that-
NBA player.
that
and he's
undercut would have
fighting
to travel?
Aaron Carter.
Yeah.
Kardashian casualty.
Yeah, he's definitely.
I mean,
a
can't
Kardashian.
imagine that after party if he wins.
Yeah, this is crazy.
I love it. And to the next big thing, which I'm not a big award show guy, but I like to see who gets nominated. And the Golden Globe nominations came out, and I was pleasantly surprised to see one of my favorite shows getting the proper recognition it deserves. Emily in Paris gets 2 nominations: Best Television Series and Best Performance by an Actress in a Television Series with Lily Collins. And people seem to be a little upset.
Including the creator of the show. So the creator of Emily in Paris.
Is this a real tweet? I don't believe it.
It's a real tweet.
Okay.
She has 104,000 followers.
Okay.
She says, as the creator of Emily Paris, can I just say, why the fuck were we nominated for a Golden Globe? LOL, I made that show as a prank.
I think she's an idiot. I think it's a great show, and people loved it, and I have no problem with it getting nominated. I think people are just up in arms of, like, here's the problem. There are some shows that didn't get nominated that have pissed a lot of people off. And it always comes down, like, if people want representation. So, like, there's, like, I don't know if you watched the movie on Netflix, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
And I don't think it got a nomination. And I don't think Bridgerton was considered for this season. So people were pissed off Bridgerton didn't get nominated, which I'm sure it will for next year. But there were a couple other shows that didn't get its recognition. And then people are like, oh, they don't want to support people of color or, whatever, the diversity of it. I understand the anger in that, but why the anger if someone actually got nominated? It's not their fault they got nominated, right? Like, you can't be mad at the person that got nominated, I think we really need to, like, chill on Emily in Paris.
But if the creators are just like, we think we made it as a joke, it doesn't matter. The joke's on who? The Golden Globes?
I mean, the joke's on everyone who hasn't watched it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what the real joke's on. Show's hot.
Show's so good.
Show's hot. It's going to come back season 2. It's going to be the biggest show on
Crush.
Netflix.
I'm sure Netflix will release numbers on it,
Yeah, 433 million people watched Emily in Paris.
Yes.
So you guys are fine with it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you think about the other shows that got nominated? I mean, I saw Best Actor in a Television Series, Don Cheadle for Black Monday, have not seen it. Nicholas Hoult the Great, never heard of it. Eugene Levy in Schitt's Creek, I've seen that. Jason Sudeikis in Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso's amazing.
Rami Youssef in Rami. Rami's great. And then in the actress, it's Lily Collins, Kelly Kuko for Flight Attendant, Elle Fanning the Great,
She crushed it on Flight Attendant.
Jane Levy for Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, and Catherine O'Hara, Schitt's Creek. I didn't see All American on here. A bit surprised. What else? I don't know. I've never even heard of half these shows. Best Television Series, The Crown, Lovecraft
Everyone loves the
Country, The Mandalorian, Ozark, and Ratched. Limited Series, Normal People, The Queen's Gambit, Small Axe, The Undoing, Unorthodox.
But again, I mean, we've talked about this at so much length. These award shows don't matter. Like, who cares who wins the Golden Globes? Who cares who wins Emmys?
You still got 10 million people that watch it. 10 million people care. 10 million.
10 million people are watching the Golden Globes?
I think before COVID, it was like 20 million people were watching fucking Golden Globes.
That seems high.
No, these are big ass.
Now
shows.
that it's virtual, no one's watching this show.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you're not at the Beverly Hilton having cocktails and watching people get drunk and have those moments. Here's the thing, I agree about award shows. I think they're stupid, but I think the industry still cares. Like, if you can cast a Golden Globe winner in your show or your movie, you care. I think the industry still cares internally. The fans may not care anymore, but the industry for sure does. I'm sure a director cares, a writer cares, a producer cares. We don't care, but that's their industry. Like, we don't, like, it's like sports. Like, we don't care who wins the Super Bowl. We care as fans because we're sports fans.
That's different. Because we care as sports fans. We don't care about who wins the Golden Globes as TV fans.
Sure, I'm saying, but so the comparison is be more the industry cares in Hollywood.
Yeah, just do it privately.
No way. They still make money off of it. Someone is paying to sponsor this.
I know.
It's the same thing. $5.5 million for a Super Bowl ad. Is that a good use of money? No. It's terrible use of money.
Well, I think Amazon already made up that money with the Michael B. Jordan ad that's already gone viral.
I didn't even see it.
And it's already like has millions of impressions, and Super Bowl hasn't even aired.
Yeah. So maybe Amazon won.
Yes.
Okay, great move, Andy.
Bezos was still CEO.
Yeah, and he dropped it on his Instagram first.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I mean, I'll tune in for a little. I'll see Emily win her award. Just piss off
If
everybody.
she wins it.
I hope she wins. I hope
Yeah.
it wins best show and
Yes.
she wins, and she's just like, ha ha. Why can't people just like a lighthearted basic show? Why does everything have to be about overcoming some fucking like impossible situation in life?
No, but that's the beauty of Netflix. There's something for everyone.
That's fine, but don't. Everyone's like, oh, it's so basic, it's so simp. It's like so. I'm like, so what? Why can't you enjoy that?
Why?
Yeah, like why do I have to watch the most impossible overcoming thing?
Yes.
Feel good story. Like, come on.
I like
Sometimes-
Emily prancing around in Paris,
Yeah.
doing whatever the fuck she wants,
Yeah.
Wants to
pissing
go to
off
Paris.
French people.
Yeah.
I'm all here for it.
If Emily wants to go to another city, we'll go with her.
Emily in
I'm fine
in
with
Brazil.
mindless television.
I
I'm
agree.
not one of these snobby TV viewers.
Yeah, there's a lot. Everyone.
I see your Twitter feed's getting blown up by some snobby TV viewers.
Yes,
they're
a
not
lot.
happy about it.
Yeah,
they're not
everyone's
happy
like,
about
you didn't see the one where the transgender woman overcame, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I didn't. That's not interesting to me. I'm sorry. I just want to see Emily hang out in Paris.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why she was the #1 show in the fucking world.
You know what I
because
like?
that is what people
Yes.
want to watch.
next I'd love her to go to Dubai or somewhere cool like that. Yeah, Emily in Dubai.
Emily in Dubai.
I would watch it.
There's an endless number of cool
Emily
cities.
can go everywhere.
Emily and
Emily is-
Mykonos.
Yeah.
Emily and
Young,
It's
Ibiza.
like a summer version. Emily in Mykonos.
Yes.
Emily in LA during the Grammys.
She's a social media marketing manager. Like that's
Yeah,
you can do that from anywhere.
Yeah,
or
Emily's
anything.
got to go everywhere.
Yeah.
Emily goes to Sydney.
Yep.
It's endless.
I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
I'll tune into Emily and Mykonos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paris, fine. I've been there, but
Yeah.
I've been to Mykonos too, but I enjoy it more.
All right, so now we're going to head into an interview with our friend Spencer Paysinger. Speaking of Emily in Paris, one of my favorite television shows, this is my next favorite television show.
Okay.
All American on CW. The story is based off Spencer's life. He's a producer on the show, and we have him on. We talk football, talk All American, and he gives good advice if you want to go enter the entertainment industry. You want to go be a big Hollywood guy or gal.
And this is just another nod to your guys' deep Rolodex of contacts.
You didn't know that we knew Big Spence.
All American.
I was on an email with this guy and I was like, whoa. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's an awesome interview.
And it's perfect timing because we got Super Bowl this weekend. So we're going to get into this interview and then we're going to come back and we're going to do some winners, losers content. Let's go. All right, everyone. We have a very special guest today, our good friend Spencer Paysinger, which I got to say 2 stories. One, All American is my favorite television show of the last year. To me, it's All American, Cobra Kai, Emily in Paris. Those are my 3 favorite shows. I'm pretty much a 16-year-old girl.
So the third show's the only one mired in controversy right now. So we'll get to that later.
We'll get to that later. and All American, I discovered it on Netflix. I knew that it came out because obviously it's based on your life story. But when I remember seeing it on Netflix finally, my wife and I just binged watched the first season and we were like, oh my God, this is the best show. And then, I love football. It's such a passion of mine. And it's Beverly Hills High School, which, you went to, and a lot of my closest friends went to Beverly Hills High School. So it just made a perfect, nostalgic type thing, but obviously the modern interpretation of it. And then do you remember when we first met? Because I do.
I don't remember the first time we met, but I know that you were part of my welcome to the NFL moment, part of my series of moments my rookie year.
Yes. And so I think it might have been so I was very friendly with David Deal on the New York Giants. I don't know if it was him. I don't remember how we actually connected, but I remember we had met on social media through maybe a mutual friend. And fast forward, the first time we physically met was after the Super Bowl that you guys had won.
Yes.
At Avenue in New York City.
Yeah,
And we had the table next to you.
we have a picture together actually. Now that
Yes.
I'm thinking of it.
Yes.
You were part of. I mean, I'm rookie. I'm a rookie. I'm on special teams, so I'm not really like expecting to like get stuff from, do the whole influencer thing before that really became a term. But like, I remember you sending me a box of 5'4" stuff, and me being like hell yeah, I'm in the league now. Like, heck, I'm getting free shit right now.
Yeah.
But let's walk us back, because obviously it's a hit TV show, and we just want to hear the story from your perspective because it's based on you. So just walk us through how this all happened.
Yeah, I mean, how the show happened?
Or no, how your life.
Oh,
And then we'll get to the show.
yeah, okay.
No.
So I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, like literally a half block away from Slauson Swap Meet for the Angelinos out there. But at the time, I went to school in Inglewood at Frank D. Perrin Elementary School in Ladera Heights. So I actually always knew I was going to go to Beverly Hills because my uncle was the head football coach there. My dad and my other uncle were like offensive and defensive coaches there. And like I was the ball boy at Beverly since I was like 3 years old. Wow. So, we'll get into the show later, how it kind of changes with the show. But at that time when, 7th, 8th grade, when everybody like already knows pretty much where they're going to go to school, for a lot of my friends, it was Inglewood, it was Culver City, Westchester, and whatnot. I was the only kid that knew that like I had to go to Beverly. And I was fighting with my parents, like, no, I want to go to Culver City or I want to go to Inglewood or whatnot. And, technically I was enrolled in Crenshaw for 3 weeks, but I never actually attended Crenshaw because I was my homeschool. But literally from freshman year to graduation, I was at Beverly Hills.
And did you always play football growing up because of your kind of people in the family in the sport?
Yeah, I was family of football coaches. My older brother played college football at San Jose State University. We were a heavy football / baseball family. I actually thought I was going to be like a 2-guard at UNC. Like basketball was my number one sport going into high school. That's when I saw myself like playing professionally at some point. But when I got to Beverly, I literally saw like the basketball team wasn't sending anybody D1, but the football team was sending like 2 to 3 people D1 a year.
Wow.
I was like, literally like 14 years old, like, all right, I'm going to love football now. And it was through like that decision and seeing my older brother be like big man on campus that made me like fall in love with football. But I had played football since I was a kid. I didn't play tackle football because I was too chubby. And I had some chubby years there, but I played like flag football since I was like 3-4 years old.
What was the transition like? You said you fought with your parents because you wanted to go to Westchester, Culver City, Crenshaw, and then you're at Beverly. So you walk on campus. How does we know the kids who go to Beverly Hills High School? We know the kids who go to the other schools you mentioned. They're very different.
Yeah.
So how does that walk me through your 14-year-old self, ninth grade? It's got to be culture shock, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was one of those things where it's like, because I had somewhat of a precursor by being the ball boy on Friday nights there, like once a week, I kind of knew just the football play. I didn't really know the school life of it. But with my older brother being a senior when I was a freshman, he kind of gave me those guidelines. He's like, you might get called the N-word, like people are just ignorant. And at the end of the day, like teenagers are assholes.
Wait, so hold on. You could get called the N-word in what year were we talking?
90s?
No, 2002, 2003.
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
That's so disappointing.
But at the end of the day, it was like, it's true. Like teenagers are assholes. Like
they're the worst.
I don't know why we try to coddle teenagers and thinking like they're these angelic creatures when like teenagers are assholes. Like I'm just being honest with it.
Yeah.
But at that time, 2002, 2003, it was like, all right, I'm the new kid. All the middle schools that poured into Beverly, all these kids grew up together. So I'm literally an outlier coming into this space. And culture shock, even when at the time when I had a car, like I had a 92 Honda Accord that like broke down weekly and I'm pulling up next to like $80,000 Mercedes. So it's like kind of like always being reminded of that you're not of that area, that you're still a transplant. But through those cracks, I had fun because it allowed me to like find a different part of the city interesting.
And then, you know, obviously that in itself is a pretty tough thing just to overcome. Because I agree. I think like when I think of the cruelest people in the world, I think that high school kids are the cruelest kids in the world. Just like I remember how difficult middle school, high school was just as a normal kid. And I can't imagine, you know, if you're not of you know, someone that's from the area, how they treat people. When did you know you're going to like play college football? Because you went to Oregon, right?
Mm-hmm. I knew I at least had a chance playing college football in my junior year. Freshman year, I got into school 5'6". That September, I was 5'6". By that following January, 4 months later, I was touching 6'1".
Wow.
I had grown like 8 inches in that 4 month span. So sophomore year, I went to varsity as a DN just because we had an injury on the team and I needed a body. But junior year is the year that I started coming into my own as a receiver and technically as a safety. But literally the start of the season, I wasn't looked at as a primary option. I was just sort of like the biggest receiver that we had. And in our first game, all the options that my coach was throwing on the field offensively, they just weren't popping. Like we were down by 2 or 3 touchdowns and whatnot. And at halftime, one of my coaches were like, "Hey, we need to start like throwing the ball to Spencer. He can jump over some of these guys." And I ended the game with decent numbers and whatnot. But from that point on, the offense started tilting to my favor. I became like the number one option. And the first moment I realized that I may have a career in this, a collegiate aspirations and whatnot, is when the UCLA coach walked up to my uncle and was like, "Yo, who is this Paysinger kid? And like, how's he throwing up these numbers?" And my uncle looked over, he's like, "That's him right there." Because we were at a UCLA game. And he's like, "Tell him like, you know, he'll be hearing from us." And then that's how I started getting recruited by UCLA. So that was like the first idea of like, oh shit, like I might be able to get to the next level with this.
And then, so you go to Oregon, which as a USC fan in those eras, we would just go up there and lose religiously, which was very painful. But then, were you still there when Matt and Reggie?
No, that's after.
That's 2005, right?
So 2005, I wasn't there that year that I think they won in 2005 up in Austin.
Yeah.
But I remember those SC teams because, you know, being a South Central kid, I grew up 5 minutes away from the Coliseum. I used to go to all those home games. Like I've been at all of Reggie Bush's like iconic moments in the Coliseum through the recruiting tickets. But I mean, at the time, SC was just taking 5-star athletes. So I wasn't that. And I remember when I had a monster game in high school and they were like, "Oh, send me a highlight tape," cut together a highlight tape, and then never heard from them again. And I was like, valid. Like, you guys have like Williams, like you guys don't need me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just those SC teams were like iconic. Still to this day, like I'm an SC fan because of that era.
And so then you go to Oregon and you get drafted into the NFL by the New York Giants, correct? Undrafted. Is the first team you played for the New York Giants?
Yeah, that's the first team I played for. That was the year of the lockout, if you guys remember, in 2011. And
yeah,
you know, at that time you couldn't talk to any teams or whatnot. I didn't get drafted, so there was like 4 months of just silence, and I'm just training, driving to Beverly every day to work out and whatnot. And literally the lockout ended while I'm on La Cienega. I pulled over and started getting calls from Denver, from Arizona, from Cowboys. I wanted to sign with Arizona, but I literally said, "Hey, can I call you back real quick? I'm gonna tell my mom I'm signing with you guys. Mom, I'm signing with the Arizona Cardinals." "All right, bet. Cardinals, I'm ready to sign." Actually, we just filled the role. Like 30 seconds. So the Giants, the Cowboys called and gave me like the worst like car salesman pitch ever. Like, "You want to wear the star on your helmet, be part of America's team, do it, sign with us now." It was terrible. Where the Giants hit me and were like, "Hey, we think you can do some good things for us. We're in the market for a linebacker like you. Love to have you." And based off of that, like, elevator pitch, I signed with the Giants in 2011.
And then what year was the Super Bowl?
that season. So 2011-12 season.
So, I mean, that's insane because, like, you know, a few years earlier, you're at Beverly Hills High School. Not sure if you're going to, you know, get a college scholarship. What was that experience like?
And you take down Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Man, that, like, it was honestly insane. It was like, how did we even get here? Like, almost like we weren't even supposed to be there at a certain point because, mind you, like, we weren't a dominant team. Like, we were 9-7 going into the playoffs. Like, we lost like 6 straight games that season. We started off hot. We went into bye week thinking that we were the best team in the league and then lost 6 out of like our next 8. So then like week 13, 14, it was win or go home for us. So, you know, I actually packed up my apartment like week 14 thinking there's no way. Like, yeah, we can make it to the playoffs, but like the Super Bowl, maybe.
Yeah.
And literally for a month straight, I was calling my landlord to like extend like weekly because I had sent stuff back home. I had my car ready to get shipped back to LA and we just kept winning. And I was like, all right, well, let me go into this box and get like another set of clothes. And I was literally living out of boxes in my own apartment for a month. But,
that's crazy.
Super Bowl experience was insane because, you know, you're playing against Tom Brady, like who's somehow still playing to this day and still winning. I don't understand it, but I like never wanted to stop.
Yeah. And you know, just transitioning to like your post NFL career, how did you end up making a television show? Do you think that's a function? Because I want to get into the whole story, but like, do you think coming from LA, going to Beverly Hills High School had a big part in actually making this into fruition? Because I'm sure a lot of people have like, your life is very fascinating, but I'm sure there's a lot of interesting stories out there, and you obviously were able to make this happen where a lot of other people can't. And what do you owe that to?
I do think like growing up in LA and being like in that neighborhood and in that ethos of Beverly, like just made it easier from like my perception of it. Because I'm going to Beverly, like I remember seeing like Kanye like walking into like Coffee Bean and just being like, yeah, that's Kanye. Like I have class. Like it wasn't LA and being at Beverly, like those aren't important things as opposed to like growing up in other places. So when the idea started circling about this show, and like I was literally just writing short stories as a hobby, like reading books about screenwriting, like reading scripts and whatnot. And it wasn't until I had the conversation with my now producing partner that we started circling what a show like this could be. It was literally started by like, hey, how'd you get to school in the morning? Okay, it was a regular day for me, waking up at 5 o'clock, getting my little brother ready, dropping him off at my grandmother's house, and then fighting traffic across town to get to school. And he's like, bro, I would wake up at 7:50, get to school at 8 o'clock, and like still be early. Like you had a full morning before.
Yeah.
And that initial question is what sparked the idea of like, what would happen if this kid is in 2 different worlds? So I think that coupled with the relationships that my producing partner had, Dee Murthy, just coupled with the idea that like, oh, can I go to Warner Brothers and soft pitch this idea? Yeah, like it's a studio. Like I've seen this studio. I've driven by the studio a million times. Like this isn't a foreign thing for me, you know? So I think like growing up in LA just made this world seem a little bit more accessible.
That's really crazy. That's so true, that because you see it, you think it's actually doable, versus if you live in, I don't know, Scottsdale, maybe you don't think you can make a movie or a television show because it doesn't even seem real.
I mean, you guys know, it's like when you guys travel and you guys say you're from Los Angeles, you see people like, oh, wow, like, do you see superstars all the time and Bentleys and everything? I'm like, yes. That's the money. It's more to it.
It's a super important point that you're making, that even though you lived on the other side of town, just the basic exposure that this life is possible made you think the possibilities are endless after your career, correct?
Yeah, and honestly too, like I credit my parents who like forcing me to go to Beverly, because at 13, 14 years old, I was, interacting with different cultures and ethnicities that if I didn't have that experience, I probably wouldn't experience until college. So the fact that I, the Asian community, the Jewish community at Beverly, the Armenian community at Beverly, like having those friendships and understanding, how those different cultures and ethnicities work. By the time I got to college and then the league and beyond, it didn't feel foreign to me to like be in these rooms because I've been in those rooms since I was a kid.
Did you feel like when you were in the NFL, and I'm sure a lot of your teammates didn't have that exposure, did you just feel like I'm just thinking 3-dimensional chess and they don't get it?
There's definitely like when you're sitting in those rooms, you can tell, and I make this joke that like some people are like not more than athletes. Some people are just athletes.
Yeah.
Like, and
That could be this is a LeBron's thing. Just an athlete.
it's the running joke of whenever you see a football player, like the guy that just like terribly like beat up his girlfriend in Seattle. It's like, that's technically still more than an athlete as well. Like, it's not just the positive things. But you're in these locker rooms and you definitely find your clique. You find who you connect with the most. And, there's some people it's like, me and you have nothing in common off the field. Like, I see what you're trying to do is not what I'm trying to do. Whereas like there's like guys like Arian Foster, like Michael Thomas with the Texans right now. Like, those are guys that like were thinking forward while they were still in the league. Kelvin Beachum, Russell Okun, who's like, he's like the biggest like Bitcoin thumper in the league right now, like the first athlete to get paid in Bitcoin essentially. So it's like connecting with those guys that were thinking beyond. And at the time, like I have an econ degree from Oregon. Like I didn't think I would be in this Hollywood space. I thought I'd be wearing a suit on Wall Street, but it was just a hobby and connecting with those people off the field that led me to this space.
How long did it take to get All-American made?
Relatively quick. I'd say in total, 1.5 to 2 years. So I was developing it. I was helping develop it with Greg Berlanti and Abel Blair, who wrote the pilot. My last year in the league in 2000, late 16, all of 17.
Wow. So that's really fast because I heard Queen's Gambit took 30 years.
I definitely think they were playing on the idea that this isn't a historical 30-year-old story. Guys playing right now in the NFL. And at the time, I didn't really think that I would retire at the time that I would. I had a goal to, but you always think you can get that one more year. So I definitely think they were playing on the idea that hey, we have an active NFL player right now that we can say this is his story.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's interesting. And then when did you know the show was a hit?
I knew the show was a hit when it went to Netflix that first season.
Yeah.
Before when we were creating the first season, even the pilot, you look at the cast and you're like, this is a beautiful cast. It encompasses a lot of different demographics. The stories we're telling will be accurate and authentic. We have a chance to be that next Friday Night Lights, that next OC or Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
Need people to find this show because at the end of the day, the CW at the time was mainly DC action stories. And then they have a show about a black kid going to Beverly. It didn't really fit their mandate in my opinion. But it wasn't until we went to Netflix that people found it when they did. And we became the second most watched show on Netflix and across multiple demographics. And I truly believe that's why we got extended to a second season is because we built this following on Netflix. Our numbers on CW were strong, but if we got canceled, I would have understood why we got canceled based on the numbers.
And I saw, I grew up going to college with kids from Beverly. Kids didn't look like that, the way the cast of All-American looks like. That's the best looking group of people I've ever seen in my life.
It's Hollywood, dude. What are you talking about, bro? You want a hit show?
I personally don't want to see ugly people either. I want to see
very clear.
I want to see good looking people living good looking lives.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
That's the whole point. It's escapism.
Yeah. I escape. Don't worry. I love it. What's really interesting, so obviously I'm a big fan of All-American, and I'd never seen the show Gossip Girl. Mm-hmm. And I asked, listeners had suggested to watch it because I liked All-American. And I watched the first episode of Gossip Girl, and I was like, oh my God, All American feels so much like a more modern interpretation of that show because, and I see why it's so popular. I mean, Gossip Girl had like a really good looking cast. It just was more reflective of what TV looked like at that time. And this is a way more diverse cast and more diverse story, more stories that like I can relate to than what the Gossip Girls cast, was pitching. But it feels like it is the Gossip Girl of the time.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there's a definite structure in telling a teen drama because at the end of the day, a lot of people like the number one question in my DMs is like, what's real and what's not? And I always say, in order to make a TV show that like can clear multiple like demographics, I have like 13-year-old like boys and girls in my DMs like, what's real and what's not? And then I also have like 60-year-old men asking that same question. It's like you have to allow for that structure to work when it comes to like cliffhangers and like backstabbing and pivots and like just there's an absolute structure in making these sort of iconic shows. Like I always felt like every 7 to 10 years there is that teen show that comes and like grabs a generation. It is the Friday Night Lights, it is the OC, it is the Gossip Girl, and hopefully when it's all said and done, like we will be in that line of shows that's like All American was definitely that show for the more like proactive teenager, like the more like activist teenager generation.
Yeah.
So we talk about the business of Netflix often on this show. So the show originally started on CW and it's still on CW, but it's also on Netflix. How does that work?
Yeah, so CW and Netflix have a working like partnership to where
Got it.
a week after CW shows air, they get ported into Netflix. So it's great because we know that we will like see an uptick in viewership no matter how high our numbers are on CW. Once it hits Netflix, like we'll have to like have these same conversations with people. And it's kind of a mind fuck because there are times where like we're developing out the next season and I'm getting interview requests to talk about what happened in like episode 2 of season whatever. And I'm like, damn, I gotta watch that episode again to remember what happened.
Yeah, because it's actually like a big strategy shift that Netflix, at least from the outside looking in, has done where they originally would have just paid you guys a boatload of money and say, this is a Netflix show. But now, since it debuted on CW, they have to pay whatever licensing agreement they have with you guys in CW. It's interesting because you guys launched in 2017 and it's such a different strategy than Netflix has today.
Yeah, we thought, I mean, at one point there were some talks just amongst me and like my small circle that if we did end up getting canceled by CW, there could be a world where Netflix would want to pick up something like this. So I think that's also been a big change that we've seen in like shows like You and like Cobra Kai jumping networks is like, that didn't used to happen. Like Brooklyn, what was it? Brooklyn 911, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Like, shows are finding homes in different platforms because they know at the end of the day, like it's a content war.
Yeah.
So if something has some numbers and has a following, like it's not just going to die out once a show gets canceled at one network. Like they can actively go and find other shows now. I mean, find other networks.
So are you now like full blown Hollywood guy?
I'm so Hollywood.
Yeah.
Surprised we got him on.
Like, yeah. Hold on my calls, Teresa.
Like I just had like I'm there. Like I didn't used to drink coffee, and now I'm like I can't open my eyes unless I have it. But no, like this is the space. Like I say like this is my first career. Like I never thought of football as a career because it's not something I can work for 40 years and then retire and like drive off into the sunset with. Like I can't tackle people when I'm 60. I can try, but like not working for me.
Yeah.
Like being in the space, like writing, producing, you know, getting to that point where I start directing. I see this path that I can take where it's like I can be the sports guy for these companies and give them just like that deeper level of what's out there in the sports world instead of just like telling like the feel good, like topical stories.
That's awesome. What's a good piece of advice you'd give someone who's trying to break into the industry?
I would say just read as much as you can about specifically what you're trying to get into. Like, I think the common misconception is like, when you look at a show like All American, you only want to see like who wrote it possibly, who are the stars and who directed it. but there are so many working professionals in this industry that I didn't realize like were careers. Like you look on the First Day All-American and there's like 100-person crew that are working professionals that are working on all your favorite TV shows. Like it's a whole thing to have like TV show merch, like WandaVision, and like one guy had like a Sopranos like jacket on. I'm like, yo, like I want that. Like that shit is icy.
Yeah.
It's like understanding that this industry is bigger than just like being the writer, being the director, you know, being a star in front of the camera. And specifically when I talk to like youth in South Central, I'm like, yo, I know you guys want to be the stars and be like name and bright lights, but like y'all can actually be like working professionals in this industry. Just read up on the many different jobs that are out there for you.
Yeah,
that's really good advice.
That's really good advice.
Because, I mean, we keep wondering why home prices keep going up in LA. I'm sure it's because all these people are making so much money working on all these shows.
Yeah, for sure. My street is filled with a lot of people who work on TV shows and movies.
And quick question on Netflix. Do they share data with you?
They do not share data with me personally, but I do know they're very like close to their chest with their data.
Yeah, that's what it seems.
Yeah. I mean, why not? If you have the power to, why not?
Yeah.
And then they randomly just say 100 million people watch Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
It's true. That's it right there.
Yeah. And then, so my last question, who's going to win the Super Bowl this weekend?
I'm going to go against the cuff. I'm going to say the Bucks are going to win.
Wow.
I'm going to say the Bucks are going to win.
Do you have friends on either team?
Yes. I play with JPP, Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah.
And I probably know a handful of other players on the team, but like, I don't know, man. I think we're watching like arguably the greatest winner of all time, like win. Like he's in that conversation with the Serenas and the Muhammad Alis and whatnot in terms of like playing 20 years in the most like brutal sport and winning. Being to 10 Super Bowls, going to another team in another conference, and then still getting to the Super Bowl, like he's already won in my book. But if you can go and beat this juggernaut that is like Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs, like that should cement him as like undeniably the greatest quarterback to ever play the game.
Yeah. Okay. Then maybe I'm a Bucks fan this weekend. Okay.
There we go. I mean, I
want to win.
I'm realistic. Like maybe the Chiefs are going to blow them out because like this offense is insane. But just think about I think it's just more fun if Tom Brady does win. Like that just makes for a more compelling, fun narrative.
Yeah.
And my last question is, do you miss playing or are you just super happy creating content?
I wanted to get out earlier.
Oh, wow.
Like I was mentally, like 2 seasons before that, I was like, this is a job now. I'm trying to get out of this.
Yeah.
And I don't miss it. I miss like the locker room and like that camaraderie that came with it. But in terms of hitting, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'd rather do shit like this.
Us too. We don't want to work anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I have no muscles either, so I can't hit anybody.
I'm trying to get rid of my muscles. I don't need these anymore.
Get on whatever diet I'm on. I have none. All right, man. Well, thank you very much for your time. Huge fan of the show. Now I'm just waiting to watch it on demand on CW as soon as it comes out because I don't want to be behind a week.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been fun. I'll see you guys on Twitter.
Yeah,
sure. Thanks so much.
All right, y'all.
All right, now we're gonna move on to winners, losers content. Thank you, Spencer. And I guess I'm gonna go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Wow.
Okay, who's your winner, Anand?
My winner is the common man.
Wow. I feel like the common man's losing big.
Yeah, near term.
Okay.
But I think they've had enough. The GameStop trade and the stopping of being able to buy on all these different brokerages has just like awakened the working class to a level that I think we've never seen because for the first time ever, they realized they have some power.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2008, if you were working class and you got wiped because of the economy crush, you just accepted it because you're like, that's what's supposed to happen to me.
Yeah.
And now I think they've realized that the institutions unfortunately have failed them.
Yep.
And they had a shot to actually upend them and they were close.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen. But now they're hip to game on how the system works, and they will find the next flaw in the system, and they will exploit it, and they will win.
Yeah. And I think,
And here's another misconception, because the Atlantic posted an article saying this was no populist movement. This was finance guys in Wall Street Bets that orchestrated this whole thing. So that is actually half the story.
Yeah.
Yes, their Wall Street Bets originated with actual finance people that were posting on a Reddit message board. But they're not telling the other side of the story that, yes, it was rooted with people who actually understand finance to find these trades, but it became a momentum trade that the average Joe got to learn about in a public message board,
Yeah.
which never has happened before.
Yeah.
So while Michael Burry, the founder of Chewy, yeah, they're financially equipped to figure out these holes in the system, but they allowed the public, average Joe, retail Joe, they alerted them and made this movement. So it is a populist trade.
yeah.
There's no way around it. The GameStop trade, if you search Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, it was average people that were like, yeah, I'm in. And that's what caused this whole thing to happen. And the institutions have to stop, and Wall Street folks have to stop treating everyone like they're a dummy. Like, oh, the stocks are only for the suits.
Yeah.
Like that, it's not, that's entrenching inequality.
Yeah.
If you don't the easiest way to grow your wealth is put your money in the stock market and don't look at it for 10 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make it that it's way more complicated than that. It's actually not.
Yeah.
If you put your money in Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Facebook in the last 5 years, you outperformed every hedge fund on Wall Street
Yeah. All of them.
by like a lot.
Yeah.
The game's not that hard.
Yeah.
They want to make you think it's hard, and I think average people are figuring that out.
Yeah.
And the next time, it's not going to be GameStop and AMC.
It's going to be something
they're
real.
They're coming for the house.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. I mean,
And I think it's a manpower now too. I mean, you're saying this page now has upwards of 8 million, followers following along. The
yeah,
second
you
this
do
happens
8
again,
million people, $1,000 each.
That 8 million was late to the party.
Yeah.
That like 7 million, you could say, was late to the party.
Yeah. And I think, my winner is people that are trading, even though you actually shared a story of what happened yesterday.
Yeah, I overheard a guy who's running an errand talking about how him and his buddy, clearly not suits, and they put a small amount of money in GameStop. It grew to a couple $100,000 and got wiped. And he was telling, I just was close enough to hear the conversation, and I was like, man, that story is happening 10,000 times over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. And I think while I know a lot of people lost a lot of money, a lot of people also made a lot of money, young people. And my winner is really the people that have stuck with it, because it's easy. And I shared the story last week of how I got wiped out and I just got completely disgusted with investing. But I see these kids are a lot more relentless. They're like, fuck it, I'm going to figure this out. And they've just moved on and they're trading other things. And so, there was I think we talked about that interview where Scott Galloway, did we talk about that?
Mm-mm.
Scott Galloway, who's a professor, went on MSNBC saying that, all you young men that are sitting on Robinhood trading all day, it's bad, it's addicting, it's gambling. You should be, experiencing your life. You should be doing, whatever, giving his advice on life.
Is that the CNBC interview that went viral?
Yeah.
You should go find romance?
Yeah. So
What a moron.
What a boomer.
So
No, he's a moron.
yeah.
that
so,
too.
so
Forget boomer. Forget his age.
Yeah.
He is that interview. I didn't know what Scott Galloway actually looked like.
I didn't know either.
I
Well
just
done.
see him
After I'd
on
seen it.
Twitter. And,
Yeah.
and
And here's I'm gonna give it in two perspectives. I know what he's saying. He's saying of this the generation of people that are addicted to their phones and they're just hopping on trading now and they're gonna let their life be swallowed by sitting on your phone. You could say that, but don't tell people to stop fucking trading.
Yeah.
There are people do that for a job on Wall Street.
Doesn't look like Royce is having a tough time over there. And that kid is raking in money on this market.
Yeah, and it's not just about if you're going to tell a 22-year-old kid who's trading on Robinhood all day that you should tell the 40-year-old on Wall Street to stop doing that all day too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
why don't you tell the 45-year-old fat hedge fund guy, go get on a fucking treadmill and lose some weight?
Yeah.
Go
Scott
hang-
Galloway?
Yeah. And so I
Don't
don't.
tell a 25-year-old that he can't be on fucking Robinhood.
yeah.
That was one of the most offensive interviews.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he got lit up, especially by Portnoy.
Yeah, that is the entire mentality I'm talking about. Stop talking to these people like they're dummies.
Yeah. I agree.
In a matter of weeks, these kids have used the internet to completely flip the market upside down.
Yeah, they're forcing congressional hearings to
Yes.
investigate
Yes.
the liquidity problems of brokerages across the country.
Yeah.
In the most liquid financial market in the world.
Yeah.
So these guys are dummies? Go find romance?
Yeah, romance. Guess what? It's a lot easier to find romance when you got 50 million in your
Yeah,
bank account.
let me tell you that
romance
much.
is coming, guys. Don't worry.
Trust me.
I mean,
Just be
he's
rich.
an NYU guy, right?
Yeah.
He's not a Harvard guy.
No. A Harvard man would never say
I would
something
never
like that.
NYU. Come on.
Who? Where?
That's like, my safety school if I didn't live in America.
But yeah, that was
I
offensive.
mean, no one's going to NYU.
It was one of the worst interviews I've seen in a long time.
I mean, yeah, it was a joke.
Yeah, it was interesting. But I think this week was definitely foreshadowing of the future of what's happening. And look, I actually think the Reddit board community can have way more success, make way more money in crypto if they all went and figured out DeFi and go figured out
Sure,
what's
they
happening
will.
there.
That's what's going to be
These
next.
kids, the average person isn't dumb. They just don't have access to information.
Yeah. Well,
And
now
now,
they have
that,
access to it,
now
yeah.
that the internet and Reddit
Yeah.
and Robinhood and all these different products allow anyone to learn.
Yeah.
I think so much of it was just touch points, right? Like you had the Reddit pages, but you didn't have Robinhood. Now you have Robinhood and the Reddit pages, and you have enough where the average consumer can make those big moves and have that backing. Where before,
I mean,
it
I
seemed-
could see firsthand with you how intimidating was the stock market a year ago versus now.
even 6 months ago, it was intimidating. In a matter of 6 months, I've understood it to, I mean, I don't understand it as well as I should, but to a point that I'm more than comfortable. Like even in conversations with people, if they bring it up, I know strong enough points and things to back that I can hold a conversation about the stock market.
Yeah, and that was inconceivable without
Yes.
the access to information.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Wow.
I mean, it's just the beginning. It's like the opportunity is there. There's a lot of information out there, and you just have to go do your homework. I get always DM'd about, where should I start with investing? Honestly, the quickest way to learn investing is put $100
And
into
lose it.
and lose it. And you guess what? You'll fucking learn.
I learned really fast.
Yeah, you start understanding what's going on, and unfortunately, it's an expensive lesson. But it's cheaper than Harvard.
Yeah.
Harvard's $250,000.
Probably more now.
Don't do Harvard. Just go lose some of it in the
Yeah,
stock
go lose
market.
$2,000. You're gonna learn
Yeah.
it quick.
I lost $100 and I was like, ooh, I did not like that.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
Didn't
who's your
feel
loser?
No.
My loser is a male Karen. Unfortunately, I didn't go to Harvard.
Okay,
I had to go to USC.
that's sad. That's disgusting.
Pity.
Carson Palmer, USC quarterback,
Okay.
played, a decade plus in the NFL. Not sure how long, but had a very long, successful career. Said Dak Prescott, who is the black quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, who has been in a very public contract negotiation to be paid what he believes, and I think most people in the sport believe he should be maxed out at whatever a top 5-10 quarterback should be paid, and Jerry Jones hasn't paid him. And Carson Palmer said he should take less because he's the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
That's stupid. That might be dumber than romance.
Yeah.
Why would you take less money to do
Why
anything?
would you take less money when you're
Risking your life every single week.
he says, you make it up in endorsements. Why aren't you telling Aaron Rodgers take less money?
Yeah.
Why aren't you telling Jared Goff, go return your money? You just got dumped from the Rams.
Yeah.
Why aren't you telling?
Yeah, I agree.
any
It's
of these
ridiculous.
quarterbacks?
It's ridiculous.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
You should, as an athlete, you should never sacrifice anything for your team. Fuck your team.
Forget the team.
I agree.
You
It's just
should-
stupid.
I'm just sick of these old washed up players that now have access to the internet that like to come on and give these hot takes. I know he did it over radio, but
Yeah.
still, like these old guys that are washed up.
Yeah,
like,
if
big
Tom
baby in
Brady
the
wants,
NBA.
what did Tom Brady get paid last year? $25 million.
Yeah, but Tom Brady actively took pay cuts because
Yes.
he wanted
For
he
him,
want-
winning matters more.
Not only that, he's been making money for 20 years.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott's like 26 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, let him get paid.
Let him
We
get
just
paid.
saw how he could get injured and
And
your
you-
career can be flipped.
how quickly, like,
Yes.
you one tackle, your career's over.
Yeah.
Why would you ever take a discount?
No, I would never. I would never take.
Why would you? I mean, Carson Palmer, you've been in the league. You know how this sport works.
Yeah.
It's not like Scott Galloway telling Dak Prescott to take
Yeah.
all his money. Scott Galloway probably agrees with Carson Palmer, that moron.
He's probably like, yeah, you should take most money. Don't play as much football. Go find love.
Yeah, exactly.
Go find love.
I don't think Dak Prescott has a problem finding love.
No. Hey, rich man. See how this coordinates? Rich. Love.
All right. My loser is Morgan Wallen.
Okay.
He is a country star that really blew up this past year on the charts as an artist. I mean, I saw him all over. I haven't listened to his music, but I saw his name repeatedly, and every time I went on a Spotify playlist.
Top 100.
Top 100. And he had an incident 48 hours ago that was filmed where he's dropping a hard N-bomb. Hard N-bomb. And it's, it's crazy. He's effectively a country superstar, right? What's happened in the last year. It's, everything from like, it looks like he was drunk. But like, how do you not know that at the level you're at, that stuff is inappropriate? How do you not? I mean, I guess unless it's just in your blood and you just can't get away
No,
from it.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I've been around those type of crowds.
Yeah.
It's deeply embedded.
It's deeply embedded. So what's happened in the last kind of 24 hours, he got like cut off by a lot of SNL canceled him. I think Country Music Awards like came out and said that maybe he's not eligible to get nominated. I don't know exact details there. But a lot of people came out and have kind of distanced themselves from record label, all those things.
Oh, man, this was recent, too.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What an idiot.
And then...
It's one thing for it to come up in the past, but like...
No, yeah. It's not like he did it like when he was a high school kid.
No, this was what? Did they say Thursday night?
Yeah, it was like over the weekend.
But then his
Sunday
record
night.
soared.
So iTunes, though, it's on fire. This, you got to bond. I think Morgan
Who's
Wallen...
a bigger star, Morgan Wallen or Courtside Karen?
I don't know. Courtside Karen has a lot of momentum. I think those two should do a duet. Country
Yes.
duet.
They should go on tour.
Yeah, probably
She
so-
just scream and yell as the opening act, and then he performs.
Yeah. I mean, it's just...
You'll have, 17 million people in there?
71.
71 million people. You'll have...
You can sell out stadiums.
Yeah, you can
But
do
the
it,
fact
right?
that his, like... What is it's like defiance of like, I support this guy no matter what words comes out of his mouth. Why not be like, it's not okay. We don't need to ruin his life, but it's just teach him a lesson. But instead go support him. And no matter what,
Over people just trying to find the lyric.
it's not a lyric.
No, he was...
comment.
Yeah. He was just drunk with his buddies.
I can imagine, too, that people are like, I haven't heard this guy before, and that's where the influx came in.
But
and be
why
like,
go on iTunes and buy the music?
Oh, okay. Oh,
It's iTunes.
Oh, I thought it was
It's not,
streaming.
I mean,
Like,
like,
go on YouTube and find a clip.
yeah, or like whatever. Listen to the song on TikTok. Why are you going all the way there and buying the song? Because that's the point.
Also,
It's
people who-
it's a defiance. It's defiance. It's not about like, oh, I want to listen to his music. It's about I'm going to support
Purchase.
this guy no matter how many N-bombs he drops.
Probably the
More
same-
N-bombs, I buy it twice.
Yeah.
Probably the same people who, got Kyle Rittenhouse out of jail for
Yeah,
what,
exactly.
a nice little 2 mil. What was it? 1
Yeah,
mil?
2 million.
I mean, the numbers must be insane in Charlottesville. He
What?
must be just a hero. They might put a statue up on him.
Oh my God.
Jesus. That's good.
Yeah, I just don't understand the idea. I'd rather teach him a lesson and be like, you fucked up. Go out there, apologize, take your beating from the public,
And overcorrect.
and then go work on it.
Yeah.
And we'll welcome you back. America welcomes everybody back as long as you admit your fault. And he did. He issued an apology. I just don't see why even send him the message that no matter what you do, we're going to buy your music.
Exactly.
Buy your music? What are you going to do with that
buys?
song now?
Crackheads buy.
What are you going to do? You just took up space in your phone
Yeah.
for $1.99. Insane. So he's my loser. Content's
obvious. Super Bowl.
Yep.
It's this Sunday. I'm excited for it. 2 quarterbacks. I mean, the NFL probably got luckier than ever that this is the matchup in an ideal world from a ratings perspective, who you'd want.
Yeah.
And it happened. The other content I want to post or talk about is watching COVID cases steadily decline across the country.
Yeah.
And vaccine rollout increasing. There's a lot of great charts on Twitter, and it's very positive.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going to be out of this on the other side of it much sooner than people predict.
Yeah.
I know most people are just jaded and exhausted and think it's happening this whole year. The whole year is not screwed.
Yeah.
May, June, this thing's over. We're
I
going
mean,
to
you're already seeing it. The fact that LA's open, which is the strictest city and probably the world.
And cases are declining.
Yeah. In LA County, they're declining rapidly.
There's a chart with the 50 states, and I'd say 75% of them, it's 10 to 15% decline. They're all turning green.
Yeah.
Those all used to be red a month ago.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's positive news. My content is also Super Bowl. I'm excited. Watch it. Enjoy the commercials. Have a good time. Go to sweetflower.com.
This is weird. Super Bowl, we have to watch commercials.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a Super Bowl commercial in
Yeah. I know.
You really haven't been missing out on much.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, if you want to give a break on the drinking, which I think a lot of people do, head over to sweetflower.com, use the code group chat, and get
20% off.
20% off pickup or delivery.
I went and picked up the other day. Fantastic service.
Yeah, it's such a great store.
You roll up, beautiful looking store. You pop in, pop out. Perfect.
Take advantage, 20% off. It's a lot. And I wanted to also give a quick reminder. We still have those Able Cafe sweatshirts, t-shirts available. Michael was on the podcast earlier this week, talked about adults with disabilities and making sure they get the right opportunities. We'd like to make a donation there, so we're selling t-shirts for him. Head over to melroseplaceco.com and purchase that t-shirt and show some support for that cause. And I also, on a whim, if you follow me on social media, you would have seen it. I created a sweatshirt.
It's so good.
Called Robin the Hood. On the back of it, for help, it says call Citadel. And the sleeves have GME, AMC, and NOK on the sleeves. It is a historic souvenir of this past week. I'm giving all the proceeds to the Barstool Fund to help small businesses. So head over to melroseplaceco.com for that sweatshirt. It's really cool. Probably stop selling it soon, but I wanted like a memento, a souvenir of like that week just to remind myself of it because it does feel historic to me.
You know what we should do? We should frame one.
Yeah, that would be
Great.
really cool.
We'll frame it in here.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So check those out. And then we got some shout outs. We got some big ones. We'll save Tim's guy for last.
Yeah, I have to imagine this crowd's growing because this guy that keeps coming back every week, getting better and better.
Yeah, he's getting good. The first shout out is to Gautam Sani from Brooklyn, Dumbo. Happy birthday, turning 32 years old.
Wow.
Rough year for everyone, but he says this is great dog walking content.
Oh, he's a dog walker.
Dog walker.
Very nice.
I don't know if he's professional dog walker, but he's saying he listens to the podcast while walking dogs. But talk about a niche. If we became the number one podcast for dog walkers, we'd probably get bought by Chewy.
Yeah.
Chewy would guarantee buy us if we were the number. We should just advertise that. Number one podcast for dog walkers.
Should we advertise on Wags?
Yeah. Are you a dog walker?
Need something to listen to? Oh, you're walking all those dogs?
Yeah. The next one is a group chat listener that is going to the Super Bowl.
Get out.
Wow.
How?
He says he's not saying how he got it, but he's fortunate to go. And He wants to know any recommendations on do's and don'ts. My food and drink will be taken care of also.
This guy's this VIP.
So I don't have to pony up $50 for a 12 ounce. I'll tell you my biggest challenge with Super Bowl was always like finding premium tequila that only have like 2 locations with it at the stadium.
Yeah.
So it had to go to that location. And a few years, they only took cash. I remember, I forgot which city it was that like only took cash. I don't remember. I had to go to the ATM maybe it was San Francisco or one of those cities.
That'd be funny if it's San Francisco. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember you had to get cash to pay. But enjoy, take a shitload of pictures, watch the halftime show, get drunk, eat all the food, go early as hell because it's a nightmare.
You should go. You should be at the stadium 3 hours before the game.
Yeah,
minimum.
And just enjoy the festivities.
Enjoy the festivities. Don't get caught up in traffic.
Yeah.
So you're just relaxed.
Yeah.
And you can just walk in whenever you want.
Yeah.
Some Super Bowls, this is only 25% capacity, I think. So
won't be
walking in won't be a disaster. Remember that Dallas Super Bowl? It took people 2 hours to get in the stadium. By the first quarter, half the stadium wasn't even in attendance.
Don't you want to be a Dallas Cowboy quarterback? They can't get people in the stadium. You think you're going to win any games over there?
But yeah, it's going to be a blast. Enjoy.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really fun. The next is to Rohit Matthews. He's turning 40. Actually, this is pre-40th birthday.
So that means 38?
Yeah, maybe he's turning 38. It's from Shruti Patel. And, he got his wife onto the podcast. So happy birthday, Rohit. And someone, as well into my 40s.
Yes, well.
I suggest treating yourself to some athletic greens. Make sure you keep that glow. Let me tell you something about 40. It is unfucking believable, Rohit. You are about to enter the golden era of your life.
Yes.
I can't stress how great 40 is. My life has only exponentially improved since I turned 40.
It's great.
Nice.
Tim, I think
just get me along to 40 then.
Yeah.
I got one real quick. Carlos Martinez from Santa Ana, California. He wants to shout out his cousin Jesus.
Jesus. Jesus? Jesus Christ.
His cousin Jesus from Tri-Cities, Washington, for being my Robin Hood financial advisor, always recommending the next stocks to invest in, and for being the best damn war zone pilot out there in modern warfare. Jesus will fly the helicopter so steady and line you up perfectly for a clear shot to take down your enemies. I actually got Jesus in a group chat, and he is now a certified Kathy and listens weekly. So,
it's great.
Shout out to you guys.
Thank you.
That was from someone named Carlos.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really well timed. Here's our regular shout out from the guy who tried to sell Dee a minivan.
Okay.
So hope you guys are thriving. Decided to go with this appropriately titled moniker today after my question last episode. Drama never answered the car question, but I'm guessing he's skipping today's shout out portion too. So maybe another time. My winner of the week is Clubhouse. They built a $1 billion social network off of Black culture, a pandemic, and Elon Musk. Impeccable timing, but great job. Loser of the week is Robin Hood. Content recommendation is Kevion Drama Part 5, assuming they did the interview. If not, it's Ted Lasso. I also appreciate Pete saving my shout out. Saving my shout out was the best for last. Not gonna lie though, I do like when my shout out is read first. I finally get to the shout out portion of the podcast. Only have to wait for Dee to go first. It's always some random dude named Carlos who's wishing his wife Ashley a happy birthday. Carlos knows damn well that Ashley isn't listening to the podcast. If anything, she's listening to the Modern Prescription podcast and dreaming about Dr. Jeff Toll instead. It's gotta be the luscious locks. Sorry, Carlos. Alexa, play Without You by the Kid Leroy. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and hydrated. Dogecoin and 1/3 of the podcast to the moon.
Oh my God. That's an unbelievable way to end the episode.
Wait, he's 1/3 of the podcast now?
No, he said in a previous shout out that he sent a picture of one of the three of you to the moon.
Oh.
Right? So 1/3 of the podcast to the moon.
Got it.
We still don't know who. Which I don't know why that's a secret. Is that going to give away who you are?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
we
Come
can
on,
look through our
tell
phones
us
and
who's
figure
going
it
to the
out.
moon.
Well, you can. So if I understood what he said, you could print out a picture or whatever and send it to the moon. So essentially, we have to figure out who sent that photo, and then we'd find out who he is.
Yeah, but how would him saying, "Oh, it's a picture of me in drama," make us go, "Oh, we know who it is"? You know, it's the one guy who's ever taken a
Maybe we have
picture with
some
drama.
people high up. We can get some trackers on it.
All right. We shall see you guys maybe after the Super Bowl. Probably not before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably after.
Do a little late night episode.
A little Zoom.
Yeah, maybe do a late night Zoomer. Be tanked.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do a late night Zoomer.
Drunk episode coming to
Yeah,
you
yeah.
live
Right after
Monday
the Super
night.
Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll see you guys then.
Peace.